Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. This is our third 1 Million Cup Sacramento event. We were the 95th city to join 1 Million Cups. So this happens at 9 a.m. every Wednesday all across the U.S. and in major cities, and even some smaller ones now as they begin to expand a little bit. A couple kind of administrative things to get started. Please, feel free to live tweet the event at 1 Million Cup Sac, hashtag 1MCSac, right, Laura?
Yeah, that's
all right.
right.
I got it right this week. I screwed that up last week. Join us on our Facebook page. We post the event there as well as several meetup groups every week. That way you can RSVP, communicate, talk to people after the fact. And don't forget to download the app. You can check into this event. You can leave feedback for the presenters. It's a free app on the App Store. Go get it. Just type in 1 Million Cups, you'll find it. I like to start every week to thank the community organizers. This is a volunteer position. We're always looking for more help, so if you're interested in joining us, please come talk to me afterwards. But without these guys, we couldn't do this every week. So if you see them afterwards, please say thank you. They put in a lot of effort. For those of you, I forgot to mention on the last slide, for those of you, this is your first time, welcome. 1 Million Cups, the idea of it is to get together, foster the entrepreneurial spirit here in the Sacramento region, support each other, get feedback, make connections. We will end the session. We won't usher you out of here very quickly. We'll stick around. Feel free to come network, make introductions. One of the things we do after every presenter is ask them what can the community do for them. That's their opportunity to say, hey, I'm here because I'm looking for connections to investors, or I need feedback, or I need to find a lawyer, or whoever it may be. If you know someone, please go up and talk to them. This is a huge help to the companies in this region that are trying to get started and bring jobs to the area, so that's a big part of what 1 Million Cups is. Last but not least, before we get into the fun stuff, thank you as always to our sponsors. Temple does the coffee downtown. They're, I think, on R Street, right near the Velocity office, where we hold the every 3 out of 4 of these events, and then Velocity Venture Capital for the building we're in today. And a special thanks to Rich at Aptology. He brought the donuts today, so those of you that are hungry, you can thank him. But next up, we have Aaron Watkins with Tap2Teach.
Wait for that to come up, and thanks for allowing us to be here. This is the only month of the year my wife will allow me to wear this shirt, so I figured I had to take advantage of it while I could. My name is Aaron Watkins. I am the president and co-founder of Tap2Teach. Tap2Teach is the only place where a teacher can go to get paid educational apps for free. My day job, however, is working with these guys, app developers. I co-founded the app marketing agency Appensy 7 years ago. I've been working in the app space the entire time. And in that time, we've come across a lot of app developers, all different kinds, everything from games to fashion to shopping. Our biggest client is Butterball, which a turkey company would be big into their apps, but they really are. And the one that always kind of flummoxed us was education. In the educational app space, you have these developers that can't use the same business model that most apps do. Most apps today are free. App developers make their money from advertising, from in-app purchase. But when you're an educational app company, advertising's out. You don't advertise to kids. In-app purchase is very difficult. If you send your app into a school, there's no way for that school to say, great, I have 100 copies of an app. I'm going to unlock the in-app purchase of each and every one of these. You actually would have to go to each and every one of your 100 devices to do that. So what we found is there's a discovery problem with teachers as well. The teachers come in and say, okay, I want an app that teaches Common Core Section 5, subsection 2, and they say, well, which of these apps do that? I don't actually know, and I don't actually know until I download the app. Okay, well, so we're starting to see a problem here because what we're finding is more than 50% of educational apps, and this is one of the only categories this happens in, are paid to download. So you do not know what is in the product until you've paid for the product. So that's where the cost comes in. These teachers are at home, they're doing their lesson plans, they are covering this cost on their own dime. So they're doing all of this evaluation just to see if it's something that they want to use to teach your children. And they're not getting any training. They're given devices, there's plenty of money in the space for devices. However, the Office of Educational Technology has said that only 8% of classroom teachers feel like they get appropriate training in technology to be able to utilize the devices that they're being given. Which is why we developed Tap2Teach. We're trying to satisfy the 3 problems we have here: discovery, training, and cost. So for discovery, we think of ourselves as an app store, except that most stores don't have everything for free. We never charge teachers for anything. All the apps in our system are tagged. Each tag is by grade level, subject matter, and curriculum. So you can go in and your profile as a teacher says what you tend to teach, and we'll show you the apps that are appropriate for you. You can also search around or search by, for example, a Common Core requirement that you need. So this also helps with personalized learning, because you could have 10 students in a room and each of them have different things that they need to learn, and you're able to go through and say, okay, this student, here's 10 apps that satisfy this requirement. It also allows that student to say, okay, well, I like to learn with this superhero app. But this other child may come in and say, okay, well, this space app looks really interesting to me. Same educational content in these, but the child starts to have a little bit of control over how they learn and how they get that information. Cost. So the way that we make money and the way that we make this work is that the cost of the app is covered by the developer. So as we mentioned, I come from an app marketing background. Developers are really looking for a way to get into the school system. So we're giving them a way to say, okay, I'm going to eliminate the barriers. I'm going to give you a community of teachers where you can put your app in front of, so that they can start to download your app and try it out and say, do I actually want to use this? There's also a feedback system in place which allows the teachers to say, hey, if you did this, this, and this in your app, I could actually use this. Or, wait, you have a login in your app. Unfortunately, because you have that login, you can't use that in our school because there's personal information. A lot of developers don't even know that these things are preventing them from having sales. And training. Every app in the system comes with lesson plans, handouts, things that will allow the teacher to implement the app in the classroom without having to kind of start from zero. So they're able to come in and say, I have a pre-created lesson plan that I can adapt. I can use this as a founding point and then move on from there. I've got the handouts that I need, everything that I need to actually implement this in the classroom. Our lesson plans are created by other teachers who are already on the platform in a contest mechanism. So every new app that comes into the system, part of the fee that they pay to be on the system puts forward a contest so other teachers can submit lesson plans. The best lesson plan that has been submitted, that teacher will get $100 that they can use to their classroom or to have a spa day if they really want to. Tap2Teach makes money in 3 ways. As I mentioned, every app on the system has a setup fee. That setup fee covers us evaluating the curriculum in the application, covers us running that lesson plan contest. And then most of our apps, we look at this and I talk about this as a place for paid apps. There is also free apps who would like to have access to these teachers who would like to have lesson plans. So we do have a monthly subscription fee for them. For the paid app developers, this works on a cost per download basis. You sponsor a package of apps. I want to sponsor 100 copies, 500 copies, and based on the volume of copies that you're providing, your cost per download will go down. So if you're providing 1,000 copies, you might get the lowest cost per download. If you're providing 100 copies, you might get the highest cost per download. But these costs per download for paid applications are 10 times better than that developer would pay trying to market that app on a site like Facebook. So there are 235,873 educational apps in iTunes today, and that's just the ones categorized as educational. You'll find educational apps in games, you'll find educational apps in utilities, so it's a rather large market. Our first year, we're looking at about 2,100 apps as a goal. blend of paid and free, and again, this is one of the few categories where there are more paid apps than free apps. Calculating sales, that's about a $3 million a year. Expanding that out in the future, we're looking at bringing on Android. Chromebooks now all run Android, and so we're able to, but most schools are one or the other. They're a Chromebook school or they're an iPad school, but we're really looking to expand out to cover both and bring ourselves up to a really nice financial position. Our timeline, and I didn't realize how small this text was, we came across the idea in about October of 2015, did some research, surveyed a bunch of teachers to figure out if this was going to work, if they were going to be interested in it. They were. We went into the Startup Hustle program in March, finalizing and kind of pulling together the company and what it was going to be. Met our CTO, started development in May. In September of this year, we finalized a partnership with the American Federation of Teachers. They also run the Share My Lesson website, so all of the lesson plans created on Tap2Teach will be distributed out to a number of free lesson plan sites on the web, just another marketing tactic for the developers. We were just recently accepted into the Founders Academy Incubator and the 4.0 Schools program in New Orleans, so we were given a scholarship to go out to New Orleans to spend a weekend with teachers and ed tech experts. We will begin in-school testing with the Newton's charter school system in December of this year, and our expected public launch, January, February development, you never know. And we're doing this all as second jobs, and so we're doing this at night and weekends. Hopefully we will be able to get to the point where this becomes our full-time gig. There we go. Go back. Nope. Okay. Tap2Teach.com is only live with a please sign up for more information, but if you would like more information, please do go to Tap2Teach.com and sign up.
So as always, how can we help you? What can the community do for you?
So one of the interesting things about a program or a site like this is what we call a two-sided economy. In order for this to work, we have to have teachers and we have to have apps. In order to jumpstart this and facilitate the launch, we can fake the app side. We can fake the app side by going out and buying the apps ourselves, because while we would like the developer of the app to pay to do that, when my first teachers come on board, I want them to see all of the apps that they've heard of, all of the best educational apps. They're like, oh yeah, my friends have talked about this math app, or other teachers I know use this other app. So we want to preload the system with those. That's going to take some money, so we are looking for investment. We are also always looking for relationships. So any educators, teachers, administrators, superintendents, the whole gamut. Again, we never charge teachers for anything. This is not a financial commitment from a school. This is really just a, hey, we want to get you in. We want to get you in to evaluate these apps. We want to get your opinion of this. And of course, the developers themselves who do, or who are the ones who are going to be the revenue source. As an app marketing agency, we do have relationships with a number of them. But of course, that's our bread and butter. So, yes.
So curious about the logistics of the actual install. So if I'm a teacher, what the marketing group with those? Am I on an iPad, a special iPad app? Am I on your website?
In the beginning, you're on a website.
Okay.
You've logged in, you've got a profile that tells us what kind of a teacher you are. You search, you find an app, you click download, and you get it. So there's a one step that takes you to the App Store.
Okay.
But that one link, you only click one link, it takes you to that app and downloads that app for you. And I cannot tell you how, because that is our secret sauce. But we are the only company that...
Somehow you figured out how to launch someone right into the actual App Store, auto-initiated download and not pay.
Yes, we got special approval from Apple to do this. And we are currently the only company who has a way for one person to buy an app and someone else to get it. Yes?
What's your age range?
We're going to be starting with K6. Again, because of this two-sided economy, we have to kind of grow strategically. So looking at device usage in schools, when you're older grades, you're doing a whole lot more like Wikipedia research and creating lab reports for your biology class. When you're younger, you tend to do a lot more like, I'm learning math, I'm learning to read. And there are a lot more apps in that space than the older space, so we're going to start with the younger group. Yes?
Probably missed something, but have you considered, or is there a way just to make it a directory of apps that you then could market to teachers? So in other words, like an iTunes directory or something like that?
In some ways, it is a directory, right? It is a website where you go and you look up apps, and there will be a differentiator between apps that are on our system and apps that are not. However, in the search, one of the things that we're doing is we're pulling in the entire data feed from Apple, so that you will see our apps, or the apps that have been part of Tap2Teach, but you will also see the apps that are not. And if you look at one of the apps that are not and say, as a teacher, I'd like to try this, you can notify us, and that gives us we'll go to that app developer and let them know more about our program and let them know that there has been interest.
So wouldn't you have more than enough apps out there to offer? I mean, there's plenty of them that have been developed. Wouldn't you be able to offer the one?
Right, but it's about more than the app. It's about being able to give that free copy to the teacher, which means someone has to pay for it. The only reason that Apple's allowing us to do this is because they're still getting paid, right? So we're not bypassing the payment system of Apple. We're just allowing one person to buy it and someone else to get it. So in order to populate the system with apps that are paid apps, we do have to pay for them.
Okay, so you have the ability, as you said, to be able to use one person can buy an app from more than one person.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks.
I just want to clarify, is this specifically for the teachers or the teachers and the students?
It is specifically for the teachers. We do a teacher verification as they come onto the system. That being said, for example, if they review an app and leave like a star comment, or those are public. So a parent or someone else could come in, and if they're doing research for maybe homeschooling or something else, they can find educational apps. They can see what teachers have said about them. But we're keeping the system a little bit closed in that we want all of that feedback to be teacher feedback. We don't want consumers and other people kind of dropping their 2 cents in when they may not be a professional educator.
And then a follow-up question to that. So if I'm a teacher, I would base my lesson plans off of this app specifically?
So the app would have a lesson plan that comes with it, potentially multiple lesson plans. So a developer could say, great, I got the one lesson plan for my initial startup package. However, I'd like 10 lesson plans because my app satisfies multiple different grades. Then they can hold multiple lesson plan contests. And each time they do that, another teacher is going to get the $100 prize money. So those lesson plans, as a teacher, you can just run the lesson plan as it is pre-built, or you can use it as a foundation for, okay, well, I like bits of this, and I'm going to incorporate this into what I'm already doing.
Perfect. And then one last follow-up question. Do you have a process in place for troubleshooting and stuff? So say it's really successful and you've got a bunch of consumers using this, could it be possible for the system to crash and go down? And if so, what would they do in that sense? I mean, obviously teachers should have a backup plan if that were to be the case. But have you guys figured out anything for troubleshooting or anything like that?
So are you saying that our system goes down or the app goes down?
Both, I guess.
Okay, so we don't make the apps.
Okay.
So every app is run by its own developer, its own publisher, as is any other educational technology a teacher might use. So that interaction is between them and the company themselves. One of the things is that, on our kind of app profile page for an app, we mentioned we have this way for teachers to leave feedback. We also have a way for developers to respond. So right now in iTunes, if you leave feedback and if someone leaves feedback for you as an app developer, you have no way to know who that was or the ability to respond to them. So we're turning it into kind of a two-way conversation.
Aaron, can I ask a quick question? So this is more of a clarification because I don't know if it was perfectly clear, but can you confirm this? The way I understand from our previous conversations is you're looking to have developers pay to get their app into the hands of teachers. And that's your primary business model.
Yes.
But after that, once the teacher chooses that, hey, I want to use this app, they would go to the school and say, hey, I want to use this in my class. the school buys the app for the students? Is that how that works?
Yeah, so one of the things that we asked in our teacher surveys was, do you have influence in your school's ability to choose what software you end up using? And the answer was overwhelmingly yes. A lot of these decisions are bottom up. Teachers recommend things to the administration or to their ed tech coordinators, and most of these schools actually have the money to buy technology and things of this nature. They just need guidance on what to purchase. There's also educational discount programs that Apple and Google as well have. So a school gets a discount when buying a product. That does not go through us, right? Our job is to get the influence to happen. Once the influence has happened, the school itself can take over.
Thanks.
Yes?
It seems like that as the developers, just kids are drawn to the video format and gaming type stuff. How do you strike that balance? Have you found that percentage of the apps that are submitted to you are really more game-ish, and how do you think, oh, this has enough educational content to be textual, and it has enough, it's away from the video game enough that it's not just drawing them in with flashing lights and moving animation?
Yeah, so I take one step back and say I think there's plenty of ways to use video gaming as still being educational, right? It can have the flash, it can have the boom, it can have the beep, 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 and still be educational. Look at Minecraft and look at all these other places that have used gaming as a way to entice and get kids into that space. That being said, our system is crowdsourcing. So every app, our job as Tap2Teach is to say what educational category this fits into and put it out there. But every app then has this wall, which other teachers can say, okay, yes, it teaches this math, but it doesn't do it very well, or it's more game than education, or however, and leave that feedback so that that developer could say, okay, well, I'm going to maybe tone down the video game a little bit and tone up the education, or their app's not going to be successful, right? Our job is to provide the facilitation, but again, we don't make the apps themselves, and so the app developers, if they want to be successful in this space, have to be able to respond to the positive and negative feedback that they get.
Okay. And then the transition to including the Android operating system, is that, I missed the time frame on that. Have you had any discussions at all with the Android?
Google is actually a simpler system for us to use. So with Apple, we actually had to Apple have this workaround for that to work, right? With Android apps, I can actually deliver a file to a phone and they can install it. That process does not work on iTunes. So we chose to do iOS first because if we look at devices in schools, as I mentioned, when we first started this, Android didn't run on Chromebooks. And so we started building this out from, okay, well, if there's this kind of fight between iPads essentially and Chromebooks in schools, and we're focusing on apps, we're going to go iPad first, okay? It was a Google announcement like months into us doing this that suddenly all these Chromebooks were going to start to run Android apps, and we said, okay, well, we'll get there, but we're already building this. So let's get this done first, and we haven't launched yet. So let's get this done first, and then we'll start to wrap that in. But actually part of our exit strategy also is this battle, right? Apple and Google are battling to control education, educational technology in the classroom. We want to facilitate that, and so one of them, the hope is that is going to say, hey, we would like to control this system and maybe drop the other one from it, so that now, teachers want to be on iPads because all this stuff's available for iPads. No, not anymore for Android.
What percentage of schools at this time are using smart devices in their classroom?
Do not have the exact number.
Okay.
There is literally like hundreds of millions of dollars of grant money available for them. I have friends who work for like Teach America who say, I go into a school that barely has walls, but they have iPads. And it's because these grants are available, and so the money is there, the interest is there, the ability is there. What is not there is the software and the process to really evaluate that software.
And one
Yes.
follow-up question. In the future, do you have any plans to include like just websites or web apps in your directory as well, or just iOS
So,
and Android?
We've talked about it. Most web apps are much better about things like 30-day free trials and things where the mechanisms, the financial mechanisms that control apps tend to be a little bit different. So the idea is there, but it's not something that we're really going down the road yet until, we get our foundation built.
From the teacher's perspective, do they have unlimited free lifetime access to each of these apps?
They
or
do,
is
so-
it like a free trial so then after 30 days they try
You
it
get
out?
one copy. You can't
Okay.
get 30 copies.
So
You get
one
one copy of
copy.
each app, right? We track that so that you don't like keep downloading the same one for all the
Right.
devices in your classroom because that's
And
not
is that one copy
It is
and one
copy
device
for life.
with everything?
Right. It is as if you purchased it.
What happens if they get a different device?
Right.
If you get a different device of the same platform, right? If you buy a new iPhone, your old apps are still there. If you switch platforms, that software may or may not be available for that platform. So that's kind of up to the developer. Many of the developers, the hope is that once we get to be iPhone and Android, they'll say, okay, well, I'd like to make 500 iPhone copies available, 500 Android copies available, and so the teacher would be able. We would track that a teacher could go and from one device and still download the other device's copy as well.
Okay, I got time for one more, if there's any more questions.
You may have mentioned it already, but how exactly did you go about surveying the teachers? Was that like a nationwide survey or just?
No, it was Sacramento area. So one of our advisors is the educational technology coordinator for Natomas Charter Schools. So he had quite a network of other educational technology coordinators in the area who then connected us with schools in the area. And so we created a survey, monkey survey, administered that to the teachers.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.